This is what we've got coming up for you in today's show.
Yeah, I always wanted it to be a sort of a one-stop shop for
Mm,
everything for, reader magnets, review copies, group promos,
mm.
newsletter swaps, beta copies, everything. Yeah.
Welcome to the All Things Books Show, hosted by award-winning best-selling mystery author Don Brooks. Publishing has changed beyond recognition in recent years. Join Dawn as she interviews authors, narrators, and many more from across the creative community. This inspiring and informative show is for readers and writers.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the All Things Book Show. And this week I've got what I think will be a very interesting and informative interview with a Mr. Evan Gow, who's joining us from across the pond. So let's bring him in now. Good morning, Evan, where you are. Afternoon here.
Afternoon to you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're so welcome. And thanks for agreeing to come on the show. So, for those who don't know, Evan, you are the founder and developer of an app called Story Origin, which is a lot more than an app, I know, and we'll go into that shortly. But first of all, before we go to that, tell us a bit about you, who you are, what your background is.
Yeah. So my name's Evan. I build Story Origin. That's probably the thing that most people care about me for. Yeah. So I started building it about 5 years ago, but it's a marketing tool and community of authors that work together to build their mailing lists, increase sales, find reviewers, and manage deadlines and getting feedback. So sort of does a lot of stuff
Well,
for
it's already
authors.
told us everything it does, so we'll stop there, shall we?
Right.
So but let's go back a little bit. Why did you develop Story Origin?
Yeah.
What inspired you?
Yeah. So I got so I used to write short stories back in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I always enjoyed that. And then in college, I got interested in technology and entrepreneurship, and I eventually wanted to build my own thing. And then I went and worked for a few years, and at a certain point, it was time for me to say, okay, now's the time. If I want to do something, build something, this is the time to do it. So I made that leap, decided to try to get back into writing and to build tools for writers at the same time. So I went and I talked to a few authors about, what tools they're using and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard, okay, I use this service for delivering my freebie. I use this other service for finding reviewers. I use a different service for creating universal book links. I use some combination of Facebook groups and Google Forms to manage newsletter swaps. I keep spreadsheets for like tracking my word count or distributing audiobook promo codes. And I also have, some combination of Word docs or Google docs in combination with email to get feedback from beta readers. I was like, oh, okay, this sounds like so much. And so I was like, okay, I want to build one thing that handles all of it for you.
Okay.
And I think if at the time I had told you that I'm going to build one thing that does all of that, you would have said, Evan, I don't believe you, or if you do it, it's going to be a mess. But here we are.
And you've done it.
Yeah.
And was that always the plan, that this tool would do everything? You had that vision right from the beginning, did you?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
did it develop?
Yeah, I always wanted it to be a sort of a one-stop shop for everything for, reader magnets, review copies, group promos, newsletter swaps, beta copies, everything. Yeah.
Okay. And before we go on to how useful it is for authors in the nitty-gritty finite detail, I just want to ask you, what does it do for readers? Because I have a lot of readers watch this show. What is there a way in for them, or do they have to be an author to be registered with Story Origin?
Yeah, so anyone can create an account on Story Origin totally free. For on the reader side, so if you go to the Story Origin homepage, if you go to the top of the top of the homepage, you'll see their banner that says, hey, are you looking for free books or audiobooks? You can click either of those links, and you can go to a directory of review copies that authors have listed there. So these are books that authors are looking to get reviews on. You can make a request for them, and then those authors you'll get access to download the book even when that author approves their request for either the ebook or the audiobook, whichever one you want to get. So that's the best place to get started. That's probably the simplest and most straightforward place to get started as a reader. But a lot of authors also use Story Origin for reader magnets. So if you're on any author's mailing list, you might sometimes find that, they include a link to, let's say, like a page listing a bunch of authors' books. And so you can click there, and then you would see a page where you can request any of those books for free and join those authors' mailing lists. So that's another common case for a lot of readers.
So remember, those who are watching this show, join my email list, and you'll get a link to Story Origin. Because when I send out group promos regularly, but I only tend to do one per newsletter because I don't like to bombard people. But I know different authors use it in different ways. So let's start. If I'm a new author, I've got no beta readers at all. I've got no ARC team, advanced review team, but I need those. I need those early reviews. And I've got hardly any money. How do I get into Story Origin without spending a fortune?
Yeah,
or what to me seems a fortune. Not me personally, because I'm already a paid up member, but for a new author.
Yeah. So where I would recommend that you start as an author is so there's a couple of different cases. There's a case where, let's say, you don't have anything published yet and you're expecting to publish in a couple of months, or you've already got several books published. Either one of those cases, so the whole gamut, I would say it is valuable in either of those cases for you to start building your mailing list sooner rather than later, even if you don't have a single published work out. So what you would want to do is put up a reader magnet, which is a book that you give away for free when someone chooses to join your newsletter. So you can put one of those pages up on Story Origin, and then you can cross-promote it with other authors through two different types of cross-promotions. One's called newsletter swaps, the other is called group promos, and we can dig into those more for sure. But that is where I would start, is starting to build your mailing list, because it is so incredibly valuable. Once you've got that mailing list, then you can use that to find people from your mailing list that would be interested in joining your review team, for example, and perhaps getting early releases of your next books. And that way, you're going to be able to get a few reviews within the first few days that it's published. You can also, people from your mailing list might also be up for becoming beta readers for you. So they might be willing to read in a really early version of a manuscript and provide you some feedback on, plot and character development and all those kinds of things. So get started with building the mailing list. It is incredibly valuable to you in so many different ways.
By building the mailing list via Story Origin, I mean, obviously there are other ways as well, but Story Origin we're talking about in this case, is that a free entry point?
So the Reader Magnets feature is on the standard plan, which is $10 per month or $100 per year. So really affordable. I think, most authors tell me, given the amount of things that Story Origin does, I would expect it to cost substantially more. But I really want to keep Story Origin really affordable, even for those, authors who are just starting out their journeys. They're not making any money from their books or anything else. And just getting started. So yeah, I would recommend getting on the standard plan. And that will help you really multiply the reach of your mailing list and your reach, and help you build your audience a lot faster. And the features like the reader magnets, the newsletter swaps, group promos, those are all on the standard plan. You can use the basic plan, which is free, and it comes with a lot of awesome stuff like direct downloads and goal trackers and universal book links. But those features are most valuable just sort of in a single player mode. They're not going to be the thing that really helps you expand your audience. They're mostly just valuable if you already bring your own audience to the table.
Yeah, and I can vouch for Story Origin being one of the more affordable places on the market. I was looking at a few others today, and one of them is really quite expensive for new authors, although there is a free version, but it's very, very, very limited. And in terms of giving away reader magnets, a lot of authors do use other places like, dare I mention, BookFunnel, which is, again, a very useful tool. But Story Origin really is a one-stop shop for most things. Now, as a reader magnet, or if those of you who might be readers on here and have no clue what reader magnet is, it's a sample of a reader's work which they give away for with an author's work, which they give away for free, so that you can taste their work, see if you like it, and if you like it, then obviously you may want to get more from that author. It's a bit like when you go to a convention or a conference and you get a free bag of goodies, and it's that kind of thing. That's the idea behind it. So, reader, do you offer? Can authors say? A lot of authors say, certainly in the beginning, I haven't got a reader magnet, I can't give away free books, I have got no money. Blah, 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 blah. Is there anything else that they can give on Story Origin initially that might entice readers to sign up for their newsletters?
Yeah, so I mean, I recommend authors, when you're thinking about building a mailing list, there's a lot of things that you can put up as roadblocks in front of yourself to starting. You might say, oh, I hear all the time that I need to use I need to have this really fancy automated welcome sequence, and I need to have all these different welcome sequences for different mailing lists, and I need to segment everything, and I need to have my reader magnet needs to be XYZ thing. What I usually recommend to authors is to use a prequel short story to your book or your series. And so there's all these roadblocks that authors put up in front of themselves. And I say, and while all of those things are good things to do, don't let them act as roadblocks. So don't let them stop you from doing something. So if you've got a book and you don't want to give away your entire, your book, for free, what you can do is you can start with just giving away a sample version. So, take the first 3 or so chapters of it, make that a sample, and then give that away for free to readers that want to check that out and join your mailing list to read that sample.
Yeah.
I recommend using a prequel because it's more versatile than using a sample version.
Yeah.
But it's something that you can get started with today for a lot of authors.
Yeah, I know when I first started out and I didn't have a reader magnet, I do now, obviously I have a novella, but I used to give a character sheet away for free to people who enjoyed my books and liked the character, and that actually did get a few people involved. Is there a facility to give away that kind of thing on Story Origin, or does it have to be a story?
As long as you can upload an EPUB and as long as you can generate an ebook file for whatever it is that you want to give away, you can use that as a reader magnet on Story Origin. So it doesn't need to be anything in particular, as long as you generate an ebook file for it. So it could be a character sheet, could be, I've seen people create, sort of, flashcards and things of that sort for nonfiction authors that can be more useful. So, yeah.
I mean, I guess the only limit there is that when you're doing cross promos, a lot of do giveaways, you really do need to have, most people would insist that you have a minimum of a novella or a short story to give away, because obviously that's what they're giving away in the cross promo. So advice is get that reader magnet written as soon as possible. It doesn't have to be really lengthy. It can be 5 to 10,000 words or even less. Some people do, and some people like me do half a blooming book and do 30,000 words because I can't do short.
Yeah, I generally recommend shooting somewhere for between like 10 to 20,000 words. I think is a good range for a reader magnet, just in case people are wondering like, okay, what's a good recommended range? And I'd say here's the thing is you don't want it to be too short, because remember, when someone is signing up to your mailing list to get that story, if you give them a 300 word story, they're going to feel probably a little bit shortchanged, because when they sign up to your mailing list, get that story, they're expecting a full story. And I wouldn't say 300 words is really a full story.
No.
And then on the flip side is you also don't want it to be too long, because the longer that a book is, just the lower the read through rate is going to be, right? In general, on average, right? So if you keep it shorter, someone's more likely to finish, right? I mean, obviously, if it's 300 words, someone will finish super quickly.
Very quickly, yeah.
But they'll feel also shortchanged, right? And then the other thing is, since you are giving it away for free, just keeping it on the shorter end, like in the 10 to 20,000 range, makes it a little bit cheaper to edit. Remember, a lot of readers, this is going to be the first work that they read of yours. And so you want to make sure that it's still as highly polished as any book that a reader might pay for from you, right? Because if they get your free story and they see that there's a lot of grammar issues, there's a lot of typos or plot holes, etc., they're going to expect the same thing from your paid books. And so you want to still make sure that your reader magnet that you're giving away for free is still just as polished. And so having it on the shorter side also just makes it a little bit cheaper to edit. So yeah, that's why I recommend that 10 to 20,000 word range as being a good one. And then I recommend it being a prequel because it's a little versatile. You can use that for both readers who have not read any of your other works versus, like you were mentioning, using a character sheet. A character sheet might require some background knowledge from the reader of knowing your universe and your characters and things. And then, people who want to dive more deeply into that universe would be like, oh, this is really cool. But for people who don't know your universe, they're probably not as interested in a character sheet about a character that they don't already know and love. So a prequel is a good way to reach both readers who have and have not read book one in your series.
Yeah, I think character sheets and such like maps for fantasy writers, they work better across social media for people who are already following you as an author.
Right.
Certainly worked for me. Obviously nowhere near as much as having a reader magnet out there, which obviously works much, much better. So, okay, so the author is now signed up for Story Origin. They've written their professional looking reader magnet, and obviously, as well as having it edited, they've got a professional looking cover design because obviously some people are brilliant at graphic design, but a lot of covers can leave a lot to be desired, and it's the same thing. Somebody looking at the books in the store, the first thing they see in the cover is the cover, and if they don't like the cover because it looks cheap and nasty and like you've thrown it together on a back of what we used to say in England, on the back of a cigarette package, it doesn't look that good. So if you're brilliant at graphic design, fine. If you're not, make sure you've got a professional cover for your reader magnet. So they've got their reader magnet. It's there and it's up and ready to go on Story Origin. So what's the next step? What do they do? What does a new author do now?
Yeah, so you put up your reader magnet, and by the way, all this stuff that we're talking about, I just want to take a step back. If you go on Story Origin and you go to your dashboard on Story Origin, on the homepage of your dashboard, you'll see a little box that says build mailing list, and you'll see one that says find reviewers, and you'll see another one that says increase sales. If you click on one of those text boxes, it will give you a checklist of here's what I recommend you do in order to accomplish that goal. So for anyone who's like, I can't take notes fast enough,
you don't need to.
Just go to your dashboard, and all the steps will be laid out for you.
Along with very informative videos, I might add.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of tutorial videos on how to do all this stuff that we're talking about on Story Origin. And if you go to the tutorials tab on Story Origin too, you'll also find case studies from other authors that have done what we're talking about here, and talked about how they did it, what works, all that stuff. Okay, but going back to your question, the next step, so after you've uploaded your reader magnet, you've got your reader magnet page, a place for readers to sign up to your mailing list and get that free story. The next thing I would recommend is joining group promotions. So a group promotion is where, let's say you, me, and 20 other authors will all list our books on a single landing page, and then we all drive our traffic to that landing page together. And so for that group promotion, we can all list our reader magnets, let's say. And so we're all driving our audience to that landing page, and we're all building our mailing lists together as readers go through the page and just select whatever reader magnet that they want to get and join those authors' mailing lists. So you can go on to Story Origin. You can go to the list of upcoming group promos. You can look for the ones that fit your genre, apply to them, submit your reader magnet to them, and then the group promo organizer would accept your book into the group promo if it's a good fit. And then your book would be listed on that landing page. And then when it comes time for that group promo, you would just share the link to it with your audience, whether that's, in your mailing list. If you're just starting out and you only have one person on your mailing list and that person is yourself, that's totally fine. A lot of group promo organizers and other authors that you might run newsletter swaps with started out at 0 as well, right? And a lot of them started doing cross promotions even when they had a very, very small mailing list. And so they know exactly what it's like to be in your shoes and to be sitting there with like, I have 0 subscribers on my mailing list. I don't really have anything to contribute to this group promotion or to this newsletter swap. Why would an author want to accept me into it? Those other authors were also in your shoes, maybe not even more than a few weeks ago, right? And so they're usually more than happy to accept people who are just starting out into cross promotions with them because they want to lend a helping hand up to someone else just in the exact same way that someone else lended a helping hand to them.
And that is true. The Story Origin community is very generous.
Yeah, and I think that another good reason to really focus on applying to cross promotions that you are a good fit for is when you apply for cross promotions on Story Origin. Let's say I was applying to a newsletter swap with someone. When I apply to swap with them, they can see my past cross promotion history on Story Origin and how many clicks I've sent to past newsletter swaps or past group promos that I've done with other authors on Story Origin. So if I'm a cozy mystery author and I agree to do a newsletter swap or join a group promotion with a horror author or horror authors, I'm probably going to send very few clicks to that promotion because it doesn't match my audience, right? My audience isn't going to be interested in horror, most likely, since I'm a cozy mystery author. And so if I have a cross promotion history that I'm sending a bunch of very little clicks to other cross promotions, I'm less likely to be accepted for other cross promotions in the future. That's not to say that the community is not forgiving. The community is fairly forgiving. But it is one thing that you do want to make sure of. Like you were saying, you only put one group promo in your newsletter, right? And I'm assuming part of the reason is you don't want to overload your readers, but you also want to make sure that you're doing a good job of promoting that group promo, right? And sending a decent number of clicks to it. And when you join too many and you overload your readers, those readers aren't going to click on as many of those things in your newsletter because there's just too much. And so you want to make sure that you're doing a good job of promoting other authors in the way that you would hope that they do a good job of promoting your works as well.
Exactly, because you don't want to hurt yourself by getting people to unsubscribe because they think your newsletter's spammy because it's full of other stuff, and you don't want to not promote what you've agreed to promote by putting 6 or 7 of similar things at the bottom of your newsletter. It's about joint mutual respect, and again, I think the community is forgiving, and they will allow you to make these errors occasionally, but don't don't keep doing it.
Right.
Don't keep doing it. Okay, so I think that's pretty comprehensive. So, okay, what if we've got some authors on here who are still not yet convinced to write a reader magnet because they don't think they have the time, the energy, or the money, but they can still use Story Origin, can't they, for sales and offers and Kindle Unlimited reads? Tell us how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there's still a ton of other features, right? So we've only covered reader magnets and group promos, really, and we've talked about newsletter swaps a little bit as well. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of other features. So you can, Story Origin basically can help you throughout the entire production life cycle of your book, right? So it starts with goal trackers, right? Which is a way you can set a word count that you want to hit, a number of words, by certain start and end date, and Story Origin will automatically calculate for you how many words you need to hit every single day in order to reach that goal, and so you can know whether or not you're ahead or behind. And then from there, once you've hit that goal, then you can put a beta copy up on Story Origin, and that is a way that readers can leave inline comments for you on your book, and they provide you feedback at the end of every chapter, and they actually have to provide you feedback on every single chapter in order to go on to read the next chapter in that beta copy. So you've put that beta copy up. Now the book is ready. You've finalized your manuscript, and you want to get reviews on it. So now you can put it up as a review copy, a pre-publication review copy on Story Origin. You can distribute that book to people who are ready to read the book and leave a review on it the day that it's published. So the day that it's published, you go to your review copies section, you hit mark as published. That sends an email out to your reviewers that say, hey, it's time. You can go leave your review across Amazon, Goodreads, Book Club, etc. And then now you can create a universal book link for it. So you can create a page that lists all of the retailers where that book is available for purchase. Google Play, Amazon, of course, Barnes and Noble, etc. And then you can participate in cross promotions, group promos, or newsletter swaps where you would be promoting that universal book link. You can also do cross promotions and newsletter swaps and group promos for your review copies as well, so you can find reviewers and things. And then lastly, if you get that book turned into an audiobook and you have it produced by ACX or Findaway, or you get Kobo codes or audiobooks.com promo codes for it, you can distribute those promo codes through Story Origin so that you can get reviews on the audiobook as well. And so all those things, whether it's finding the reviewers, the reader magnets, or your universal book links, you can set up newsletter swaps and group promos to promote those various landing pages, whatever your goal is at the time, whether whether you're trying to build your mailing list, find reviewers, or increase sales.
Yeah, I was going to come on to audiobooks because a lot of my subscribers to this channel are audiobook listeners, and I've got a few of my audiobooks up for free on YouTube, and they love listening to them. And I was going to tell them how wonderful it is if they go to Story Origin when they're panting and asking me to give them more free books, that actually they could go to Story Origin and pick up lots and lots of review copies of audiobooks, as long as they commit to review, of course. So how do they do that? Same way as going through the reader bit on the Story Origin site?
Yep. So storyoriginApp.com, and then that banner at the top, as I was mentioning before, you can hit eBooks or you can audiobooks. If you go to audiobooks, you'll see a list of audiobooks you can search through by various tags that genres that you are interested in. request those books, and then the author will get that request and can approve you with a promo code so that you can go download that book on Audible or Authors Direct or Kobo or audiobooks.com, wherever that author has promo codes for that audiobook. And yeah, you would just say wherever you intend to leave a review for the book whenever you're requesting that promo code, because those promo codes you only have, authors only get a limited number of those, right? You only get 25 or 30 in a batch at a time, depending on who your distributor is. And so those codes are really valuable to you as an author. And so you really want to make sure that you're giving those codes to people who are actually going to leave reviews, because that's what those codes, that's why the distributors give them to the authors, is so that the authors can get reviews of those books. So it's really valuable to authors. Those codes are really valuable to them. And so they really want to make sure that they give them out to people who are actually going to leave a review. So Story Origin, when someone requests an ebook review copy or an audiobook review copy from you, the reader would say where they intend to leave a review, whether it's Amazon or Audible or Goodreads or BookBub, etc. And they can also leave the links to their reviewer profiles on those platforms. So then the author can see, okay, you can see, okay, this person says they're going to leave a review on Goodreads, let's say. I can go and I can check out that person's Goodreads review profile and see, okay, does this person actually leave reviews in the genre that I write too? Because another thing, like we were talking about before, if you're, let's say, a cozy mystery author and someone requests a review copy from you, and you see that this person has, only ever reviewed horror books, well, you might not want to give them that book just because they might be thinking, for whatever reason, perhaps your cover kind of looks like a horror book instead of a cozy mystery book. I don't know how you
which would be a big error.
It would be very, that might point you to saying, okay, what's going on with my cover or my description here, that someone who is very obviously into horror is requesting my cozy mystery book. So yeah, you can see, the reviewers, are they actually like reviewing other books in my genre? Because you want to make sure that you're giving your review copies to people who, love your genre and aren't requesting it, thinking it might be something that it is not. So there's lots of tools there for authors and readers there.
Yeah. Now I did recently, most recently used the beta and the ARC features on Story Origin, because usually I've got beta team and I usually just email them, but I thought I'd give Story Origin time because I love this, rather than having to read multiple emails and sort it all out. All these bits of paper, you get it all in one place, and people can write in line. A few users did have a few difficulties initially, but found the way to do that inline thing. But some of them couldn't work it out, and I don't know whether is it on tablets or iPads? Is there an issue with those, or not that you know of?
Beta copies feature. There was an issue at one point in time, but I deployed a fix for it. I don't know if this was an earlier point in time before I deployed that little fix for it. But yeah, I mean, basically it works like you would in Google Docs or something, right? Where a reader can select a line, they hit a little icon that pops up that says, they want to leave a comment. And then they would have a little dialogue box where they can leave that comment, and it's, it's tied to that where they highlighted that text. So it should work across any type of device or anything like that. If readers ever do run into a problem with anything on Story Origin always, is here to provide the technical support. You can just forward them on over to me, and I will help them get the issue sorted out. That's one of the other nice things about Story Origin is that if, readers, Story Origin helps readers get whatever your ebook is onto whatever their preferred reading device is, and provides a lot of technical support for everything. So you can always forward them on to Story Origin and get them sorted out that way.
The other difficulty some of them had was finding their reviewer profile. I don't know why that was difficult, but maybe is there a tutorial on that? Or
so when they click on when they say that they're going to leave a review on Amazon or something like that, there will be an input box for the Amazon reviewer profile.
Yeah.
And if they don't know where to get the link, there's text that says right next to the Amazon reviewer profile input box links. It says, "Where do I find this?"
That should be easy enough, shouldn't it? Really.
And if they hit the "Where do I find this" link, it will pop up instructions that say, "Go to this site, copy the link from your browser's address box, and then just paste it back into Story Origin right here." But that being said, again, if someone says, "Hey, I can't find it," you just always, forward them onto Story Origin and get them sorted out that way. Yeah.
So all these things are doable, and actually there's a lot of information on Story Origin, and usually even I've had difficulties as an author, and then I just read the next bit or watch a video and can usually find an answer. And I think very occasionally I've emailed you and you've come straight back with a reply, which is another excellent service, I think. No, I know. So that's just that we skipped over the bit about sales, and so if we've got authors with just one or two books out and they want to increase their sales, and they're really struggling with either not being able to afford paid advertising at the minute, or have a very minimum amount that they can spend on paid advertising. Again, as long as they've got an email list, of course, they can join promos on Story Origin to promote, say, Kindle Unlimited reads. For those who are exclusive to Amazon. Obviously not everybody is, but for those who are, you can increase your reading. Tell us how that works.
Yeah, so it works just like we were talking about before with newsletter swaps or group promos. You would put up a universal book link. So instead of that reader magnet page we were talking about before, you would put up a universal book link, and that is a page that points to all of the retailers where you have that book available for purchase, whether it's Amazon or Barnes and Noble, etc. And then you can go to the upcoming newsletter swaps section or the upcoming group promos section on Story Origin. And with group promos, there are different types of group promos. So there are giveaway group promos where authors are trying to build their mailing list and you would submit a reader magnet. Then there are sales type and KU type group promos. And those are the ones where you would submit a universal book link. And so all the other authors in that group promo are all promoting their sales pages across various retailers, right? And so, with a group promo, the way it works is we all send our traffic to a single landing page, and then readers can check out all of the books in that group promo and follow the links for whichever ones that they're interested in. With a newsletter swap, we haven't really talked about newsletter swaps, really defined what they are. But a newsletter swap is a type of cross promotion where it's a direct one-to-one cross promotion. So I'll agree to promote one of your books in one of my newsletters if you agree to promote one of my books in one of your newsletters. We are not in any way sharing our subscriber data with each other. All we're doing is agreeing to mention that other person's book in one of our newsletters. We're not like sharing information in any way. Because the term
I'm glad you I know swap sounds awful, doesn't it?
Right.
And I'm glad you clarified that.
This is the term that the community has come around. The term newsletter swap existed before Story Origin existed. And has the term that people coalesced around. But it's a kind of something that a lot of authors find confusing at first because they're like, what are we swapping? Are we sharing each other's mailing lists with one another? Because that's illegal. Don't do that. No, all you're agreeing is to mention someone else's book in your newsletter. So with newsletter swaps, the way that you would promote sales is you would just request another author promote one of your universal book links in one of their newsletters. and you would agree to promote one of their books in one of your newsletters. So it's really targeted on whatever goal that you are interested in. So you can apply for newsletter swaps with, any author that has swap opportunities available on their upcoming newsletter dates. And you would say that you would want them to promote your universal book link. You could, in exchange, promote one of their review copies, or you could promote one of their reader magnets, or you could promote one of their universal book links, or you could, so any number
whatever
of things,
you agree to,
whatever you want to promote of theirs. But if you're trying to increase your sales, you would want them to promote your universal book link. And basically the other author would probably, every author has their newsletters designed differently, but usually what it means is they would put your book cover into one of their newsletters, and then they would make that image an embedded link, so that when someone clicks on that book cover, it would take them to the universal book link on StoryOrigin. And then they would go to whatever their preferred retailer is from there.
Just one thing I would say about that, with the graphic, always put a text link as well, because a lot of people don't allow downloaded images, and I've had a few newsletters where there are StoryOrigin offers, not just StoryOrigin, other offers, and unless I download the images, which I will rarely do on my iPad or my iPhone, then you can't see them because they haven't put a text link with a hyperlink. So just a tip for authors: make sure you've got a text link as well as the graphic, because not everybody views graphics, and that might be a reason why you're sending fewer clicks. So I interrupted. Carry on.
No, I mean, that's great advice.
It came to mind.
I mean, put that link in your newsletter in every conceivable format, embed it in the image. A lot of authors will make a little button that says, get this book, and then they'll make the button a hyperlink, and then they'll also hyperlink the, they'll put the title into the newsletter as well, the title of the book, and then they'll make that text of the title, they'll make that a hyperlink. Basically, because when I send out newsletters, I've got my own mailing list for StoryOrigin. So when I send out my own newsletters, I'm never quite sure what people are going to click on as the link, right? So I'll hyperlink the image.
Give them every option.
Right, exactly. So if I put out a new feature and I take a screenshot of that feature, I'll make that image a hyperlink. But then I will say also just go here if you want to check it out. And then I'll say, I'll hyperlink the check it out part. And, some people will click the image, some people will click the check it out text. So you're never quite sure. So putting that link in there multiple times and just having different ways for people to show their interest. You want to make it easiest for your readers to check out. Basically what you want to do is you want to build real relationships with the people that are on your mailing list. That's always just the best thing to do as a newsletter sender, is to just build a relationship with your audience, so that you end up in their main inbox, right? So if they're clicking on links in your emails, that notifies your
that's a good thing,
that hey, this person is sending stuff that this person is interested in. So keep putting that in their main email inbox, right? If they're replying to emails from you. So if you have a little personal story in your newsletter, you might ask them questions related to your personal story that gives, your audience an opportunity to share their story with you. And you're building real relationships with your readers in that way. That is also valuable to, the sort of on the back end, letting them know that, hey, this is a person that you're replying to emails to. This is obviously someone that, you want to show up in the main inbox and stuff like that. So just be a good, just send emails to people like you would send an email to a friend, right? That's sort of my advice. Is just sort of reach out to anyone like you would reach out to a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think we've covered all of the main features of StoryOrigin. Have I missed anything out? before
No,
I
I
go on
mean,
and
I
ask
think
you what's
we've
next?
I think we've talked. I think we've at least touched on almost every single feature.
I mean, obviously, if you want to learn more, do go to storyoriginapp.com. I will obviously leave a link in the bottom. I might even leave my affiliate link, which means I get a few extra pennies at no extra cost to you if you sign up for Story Origin. But a cost to Evan, of course, but not not to you.
I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share with you, though.
That's very kind. That's very kind. So I will leave that. There will be a link below. Is there anything else in the pipeline for Story Origin?
I'm
sure your mind is always.
Yes, my to-do list. When I was setting out a Story Origin, setting out to build Story Origin, I think my to-do list was about 2 years long. And it's been 5 years now, and I think that my to-do list is probably about 2 years long. So it's never ending. I really want to make Story Origin sort of the one-stop for everything that you need as an author and improving all the stuff across Story Origin. So I usually will, sort of flip back between like, what new feature am I going to build that's going to, help authors in some huge way versus like, okay, what are incremental improvements I can make across the existing features to make everything more convenient, faster, whatever for existing authors on Story Origin. And right now, one of my big focus is Story Origin has actually been the past, since January of this year, Story Origin has added more new authors on the standard plan than any month in the previous year, with one minor exception / like the initial launch of Story Origin's standard plan. So it's been growing.
That's good news.
Yeah. So Story Origin's been growing really quickly, which is awesome. That also means, though, that there's a lot of more new authors that need more education around how do I get started with building a mailing list, because that's a big leap for a lot of authors. So right now, my big focus has been talking to other authors and trying to get together some case studies of, here's how they started building their mailing list. Like, just showing that everybody is human too. It's like, I talk to all these authors and it's like, yeah, when I started my mailing list, I had no clue what I was doing. And now I've got 2,000, or 3,000 people on my mailing list. It's like, and I have this like nice welcome sequence. And this is sort of how I do my welcome sequences and stuff like that. But also, when I got started, I had no idea what I was doing, and it's okay to start like that. And so yeah, a lot of my current focus right now has just been on that educational side of helping authors go from not knowing anything about mailing lists, not knowing how to get started, any of that stuff, to how do we ramp up to doing cross promotions and newsletter swaps and all this stuff, which sounds confusing. But really, once you start doing it, it's actually quite straightforward. a lot more straightforward usually than like, going and figuring out like ad targeting dashboards and bidding strategies. And
well, that's for another day.
Exactly. Right. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons that like a platform like Story Origin grows so quickly, is because like cross promotions, which are really valuable, they're great because they're free, easy, and they're targeted, right? So they're free. You and me agreeing to mention each other in our newsletter swaps, I don't need to pay you for that. You don't need to pay me for that, right? It's great. They're easy. All I'm doing is agreeing to drop a link to one of your books into one of my newsletters. I'm not like, I don't need to figure out like a bidding strategy or like the other things I was talking about, like targeting strategies or anything like that. And they're targeted by genre, right? So like, I know when I set up a cross promotion with another cozy mystery author, that my book is going to an audience that will enjoy my cozy mystery books, right? So I know that it's going to the right place. It's reaching the right audience. So yeah, cross promotion stuff is growing quickly in the author world. And yeah, so Story Origin can help out with all that stuff. But yeah, it's really not as complicated as it all sounds at the get-go.
It's not. It really isn't, because I mean, I use Story Origin. I've used it for a couple of years now. I used it when it was free, and it was so valuable that I immediately moved into the paid. I don't know how Evan afforded to offer it free for so long. But it's worth every penny, because it is, as we've already said, it's inexpensive in terms of what an author pays out for various other things. And if I tell you some of the money I've thrown down the road on this author journey, this is one of the most valuable. And I certainly continue to build my mailing list with Story Origin. I do use other things as well, but Story Origin is consistently adds to the mailing list. I only tend to do one giveaway group promo per month, because I focus on the other stuff that Story Origin offers. But even in that one giveaway, I can get between 100 and 200 signups in a month. And if you, as a new author, if you're thinking about that and you were doing a bit more than that, you would soon build up a substantial mailing list, which I mean, obviously you're going to get some unsubscribers, but that's fine. That, we all accept free things and then don't buy the next one. But as long as people like your work, they will stay with you. And as Evan has already said, build a relationship with people rather than just try and sell to them all the time. Then that's more valuable than gold, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've certainly found that to be the case with Story Origin, with Story Origin as well. Like you were saying, Story Origin was free for a very long time. But I've had people on my mailing list for a long time that have, they've been on my mailing list for a couple of years or whatever, and they just follow my journey with me building Story Origin, talking about what features I'm adding, where I'm focusing and all of that stuff. And they're like, I wasn't able to use it before because I hadn't, I didn't have a book published yet or something like that, right? Whatever roadblock was in their way. And they say, but I've been following your journey for, several years now, regardless. And it's like, now I'm finally getting to pay for this thing that I've always been following the journey for. And it's so cool to do. And I love hearing that from authors as well. So it's really about, building relationships with people. And it's also so fun to hear from readers and things when you're an author, and because it's not something that you get when you are just selling a book purely and you don't really have any way to have direct contact with your audience. Having a mailing list and being able to actually communicate with your tribe, your people, it's so fun.
It is. Right. Well, I think we're about to run out of time, Evan. Thank you ever so much for agreeing to join me on the show today, and wish you every success with Story Origin in the future. And
thanks so much for having me on.
It's been an absolute pleasure. So that was Evan Gow from Story Origin. What an interesting and informative conversation that was. And remember, whether you're an author or a reader, there's something for you on Story Origin. You can either get new readers as an author, or you can find new authors as a reader. So I'll leave you with that thought, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks for listening.